Hello. There- um,
Good afternoon, Professor.
Good afternoon, Caroline. Good
afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Amy. Good afternoon. Oh, good afternoon. That's awesome. Good afternoon, David. Good afternoon, Amanda. Good afternoon. That's David P. Good afternoon, Kaylin. Good afternoon, Savannah. Good afternoon, Elda. Good afternoon, Alicia. Good afternoon. Good morning. Wait, now I'm okay. Sophia. Hi, Christina. Good afternoon, Kevin. Good afternoon, Caitlin. Good afternoon, Jamalette. Good afternoon, Amanda. If I kind of already said whatever. Good afternoon, Chloe. Good afternoon, Kimberly. Good afternoon, David P. Like I said, good afternoon, Amy. Good and hello and good afternoon, Elda. That's awesome. Okay. And again, the thing started a little bit late. I'm sorry. Okay, who else did I not say? Wait, so that's good afternoon, Felicia. Oh no, she's connecting. Sorry. Good afternoon. Who did I miss? Okay. Good after. Oh, someone else. Good afternoon, Samuel. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Ajayo, I think. Good afternoon, Felicia. Awesome. All right, awesome. Wait, what happened to Felicia's avatar? Now I'm sad. Good afternoon, Dave. Sorry. All right, well, Felicia, they took me on a roller coaster. Felicia made me sad. No, she didn't. Her lack of avatar made me sad. Okay, I need a Pokemon, actually. Okay, good. Did I say good afternoon, Dave? Okay, I'm stalling. Okay, we have much to do. Just confirmation. We're lucky. Oh, confirming, if I can get confirmation from you guys, wait, someone else is here, sorry. Okay. We do confirm or deny, please, in the chat or somehow. We don't have class on Monday, but we do have class on Wednesday, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome, thank you, Savannah. Okay, and thank you. Oh, and thank you. Okay, you're right. Okay, thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, Jamalette. Thank you, Amanda. Okay, cool. And there's second confirmation, because I know there's a lot of holidays coming up, and they sort of, for what it's, you also have classes. There's a lot of holidays coming up, and they're sort of. But my other confirmation is there any makeup? Oh, this is what I'm looking in the direct chat. Oh, that's what I want to know. Thank you, direct chat person. Okay. Right, Thursday next week is the makeup day. That's what I want to. And also, direct chat person, different direct chat person, no worries about the training. I got you. And thank you. Okay. So direct chat person number one, totally closing a conversational path. Feel free to submit for the points. How do you know who direct chat person number one is? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, well, no, I got you on the trains. And once again, this class started like 2 minutes late anyway. Okay, thank you guys. All right, so I have to remember next Thursday we do a class. Okay. Okay, so I want to start making tracks with more of the sheets now, start to pick up the pace. Yeah. Okay, we're going to do something a little bit different, because now we're up to, I want to get to these equations that are on the front page right now. We haven't yet. and we need them for sheet 4, but we still haven't gone over sheet 3. As you know, sheet 3 is a little bit weird. It's not weird. I mean, I love it. I mean, I love sheet 3, but it's definitely to the left in a way. God, sorry. So I want to address sheet 3 before we get to sheet 4. And I want to warn you too, I have to warn myself. I mean, one of the reasons I'm a little bit nervous with sheet 3, if I'm not careful, once we start talking about sheet 3, if I'm not careful, I could talk all day and never get back to an equation. I could talk all semester and never get back to an equation if I'm not careful with sheet 3. Sheet 3 is about a fundamental concept that is so fundamental to all of this that we need it all the time, but we don't need to be talking about it all the time. And so I have to be careful. So this is what I'm going to try to spend about half of today's period on whatever we do is going to be too short, is what I'm saying. Whatever we do in a way is going to be cutting off the sheet 3 discussion faster than I'd like. And sheet 3 is I'm talking about homework 3, train of thought, excuse me. And I know that many of you haven't gotten it back yet, and that's totally okay. I mean, it's not okay, but it won't affect today's discussion. I am assuming that many of you with sheet 3, train of thought, I'm assuming that even if many of you haven't gotten it back yet, that you have electronic access to what you did, like in front of you, or I'm hoping that you do. Hopefully you have a copy of what you put, or the sheet itself, or you remember, because the best way to address, it's really meant for discussion. So we're going to have, so we're going to have a little discussion. As I say, I'm going to have to cut off the discussion right when I don't want to, but that's what's going to happen. So what we're going to say right now is, please take out your sheet number 3, homework 3, train of thought. Please, that packet, it's not really a sheet, it's really a packet, but please take that out. And I'm going to put a couple of questions in the chat right here that I'd like you to mark down or make a note of. And I'm going to put you in breakout rooms temporarily. And I'd like in the breakout rooms for you just to share your thoughts on the next couple of questions. This is definitely not a test. This is not an exam. This is not a lab. I mean, it is kind of a thought lab, but don't think about grades or anything, but do, have a cup of coffee and try to get yourself revved up. I'm going to put you in breakout rooms. You're going to talk for a couple of minutes with whoever in your breakout room about just sharing your answers to what I'm going to put in the chat. And I'll try to visit the breakout rooms, but bring the questions. Electronically, I don't think whatever's in the chat here, I don't think it goes into the breakout room. So copy these questions down or whatever. And the idea is to have totally polite, generous, compassionate debate. Like someone's here. The idea is going to be in your rooms to look for anywhere where anybody has differences of opinions or different answers to these questions. And you're not trying to convince the other person that you're right and they're wrong, but you want to come as a group, you want to attempt to reconcile any inconsistencies between any answers that anybody got. Like, in other words, find out the reasons that one person said one thing and another said another. Like, find out how that could be that two people, is it possible that they're both right? Is it possible that one misread the question? Is it like, be able to, once we come back into the main group, your sort of goal as a mini group is to be able to say, okay, well, we had 3 votes for this and 1 vote for this, but we decided that the reason was that the one person was picturing a train in the Bronx and the 3 of us were picturing a train in Brooklyn or something. Like, just come to understand how it could be that people could have different answers or what the reconciliation is. Okay, so I'm gonna put I'll see if you understand what I'm saying in a second, but I'm gonna put in the chat the questions. Oh, no problem, private chat person. Okay. Okay. So what I did was, so I put questions in the chat. I think, again, you can tell me if I'm wrong, or it may have been updated in Zoom, but I think when we go to breakout rooms, and I will try to cut, yeah, I think just these are not going to translate into the breakout rooms. I don't think you're going to see them. So I'm going to ask you to jot them down right now. I don't care about the exact words of my questions exactly. But I'd like you all to have on a piece of paper right now or somehow record of these 4 questions. And you're going to bring them with you to the breakout room and you're going to discuss in the breakout room. If again, the idea is you're going to go to the breakout room and then you're going to come back and share with the rest of the group. So if you find that it's so be prepared to do that. If you want to appoint like someone in the room as the person, you know, do whatever you want in the room, but please but be accountable to this. But understand you're going to have about 20 minutes to discuss these. So these are the questions that you want to have answers to from the breakout room. Like, oh, and I should say again, if you're jotting, in fact, I should give you a moment right now. I mean, you're jotting these down right now, all of you, but each one of you is going to want to have your own individual answers to these that you're bringing to you to the breakout room. Like in the breakout room, you're sharing your, well, you get that, you know how that works, but then, you know, you'll report your findings to the rest of the group. So first of all, can I just get a show of electronics hands if what we're about to do is clear? Awesome, awesome, cool, 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 awesome, awesome, thank you, awesome. I would say everybody's name, but it looks like almost everybody is. Okay, cool, 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 great. Thank you, that is awesome. Okay, and this is all I'm gonna say again. Sorry, someone's coming. I'm gonna give you time to. Okay. Oh, sorry, Savannah, do you also have a question or you're just saying that it's clear to you or both? Oh, sorry. Okay.
I was just saying it was clear.
Thank you. All right. Awesome. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to give you, so again, for anybody who just joined or anybody who's, where I'm giving you a moment to copy down these questions from the chat. Again, if you happen to know that I'm just wrong and that these chat questions will travel with you into the breakout rooms, let me know because it's, I'm sorry. You're quite right. Thank you, Caroline. And totally put that in participation. I'm sorry. You're right. It is homework 3. I'm sorry. Thank you. Yeah, no, and you're right, direct chat person. Sorry, you're right. This is homework 3. I'm recorrecting right now. Thank you, Caroline, and thank you, direct chat person. Thank you. Yes, no, thank you. And again, soon, someone can remind me, I've got to open up a portal for people who politely point out errors or confusions in anything I do. I mean, there definitely should be a portal for that. I'm sort of surprised I haven't made one. So just you can remind me. But yeah, okay. Okay, do we, how about this? Can we say this too? When you, once you're clear and you've jotted down these questions and you're ready to go, can you just put up and keep up an electronic hand once and just keep it up like once you're ready to go and we'll, awesome. Oh, okay, great. Oh, great. Okay, thank you. I'm gonna wait a couple. I'm kind of gonna wait till everybody's ready, but great. Just keep them up though. I mean, no pressure to. So yeah. Oh, I like that. That's cool. The world of Bitmoji. I mean, I keep saying, I know these are not Bitmojis, emoji, whatever's. Just keep them up though, because there's a couple more people. Just so everybody's putting up their hand once they're ready to, once they've jotted down these questions from the chat and we're ready to go into breakout room. Just keep them up. So everybody's gonna. So I don't want to like single anybody out, but once you're ready to go into the breakout room, once you've jotted down these questions and you're ready to go into the breakout room, you're gonna put up your hand. Just hang. Okay, we're gonna give a second. And I'm gonna, so again, so you're, for anybody who just joined, you're copying down these questions from the chat. And as soon as everybody's ready, we're gonna go into the breakout rooms. I'm gonna make them right now. Okay. Okay, great. All right, so we're about to go. So I hope if, so I'm going to take this as like a majority. We're going to go into the breakout rooms in a minute. Again, if you're paying, if you just joined or whatever, I've asked everybody to copy down these 4 questions from the chat, just in your own words. They're all about question 3. I mean, homework 3, train of thought. You're going to bring these questions in with you to the breakout room. But if you do understand, even if you do understand what's going on, I mean, that's what's going on. Even if you don't catch all the 4 questions, I mean, at this point, someone in your breakout room will have them, so it'll be okay. And by the way, you're not turning this in or anything. The point is to have a productive discussion. So as long as you're clear that we're about to go into the breakout room to talk about about homework 3, hopefully someone in your breakout room will have these 4 questions. So we're going to do it in one. We're going to do it. Now. Okay, so when you get your assignment to your breakout room, please go. I think it's like a button. Okay, cool. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. Awesome. Well, that was, welcome back, Amanda and Savannah and Sammy. That was fast. Wow. Okay. I'm taking it that you had enough time. Okay. Okay. Actually, and I'm going to get rid of, wait a second. Sorry. Let me get rid of this. Well, actually, yes. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna have a little discussion here. So welcome back. So, okay, I'm hoping, so let me just quickly, thank you for coming back. Thank you for doing that. First of all, just quick show of hands. Quick show of hands if you did get through all 4 questions in your room. Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. Okay. Cool. 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 Raise your awesome. Okay. So everybody. Okay. And so we're gonna have a discussion now. I would encourage you, again, it's totally optional, but I think for a circumstance like this, you know, if this is one of those times that maybe you could have your video on, it might help a lot for other people. It's not, you know, if you can't, you can't. I should have said that would have been helpful in the breakout rooms. Maybe you figured that out. But anyway, all right. I just want to, yeah, I just want to go. Let's just go. Anybody, start with anybody who wants to start. I just want to hear like a report of what, in the best of your judgment, like what happened in your room, like sort of like what are the answers to those 4 questions? What did you find about those 4 questions in your room? Anybody who wants to go first. Oh, and those hands. Oh, by the way, oh, sorry. And if your hands, are your hands up to talk, or if you could, I mean, Chloe, are you raising your hand to like say something now, or?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Please do. Thank you. That's awesome. That's awesome. And all of you, I'll open up a portal for anybody who participates in a discussion. I forgot. I'll do that too. But yes, Chloe, go, please.
Okay, so for my group, there was Felicia and Christina. So we all basically, for the most part, had kind of different answers because we were kind of thinking a little too deep with the with the scenario. So for the first one, you had asked if we thought the train was moving initially, and we both said, we either said not enough info or yes and no. So it was yes and no because we thought the way the position was going, so regardless of where it's at, it's going to end up from one position to another. While someone said that it wasn't enough info just because there was no uh, use of your senses to show that there was some change or inconsistency while going to your final destination.
Oh, cool. Okay. So you guys were actually split in your room. You were split on whether it was initially moving or not. You had 2 different ways of, yeah. Okay. And by the way, one thing, it cracks me up that you say that you were like thinking a little too deep. I mean, it does sound like you were thinking deep. I don't think it, and I guess there is a such thing as too deep, but for something like this, I don't think there's too deep. Deep is good. I don't think it's a problem. I mean, but okay. So initially you guys were split over whether it was moving, and then keep going briefly. I'm going to call on someone else in a minute, but keep going. Did anybody change their mind through the sheet or in the room?
Yeah, so later on we said, so someone said yes and no because they thought that the term of moving from one place to another, and they maybe thought so we also thought about it with the situation with the lights, so that the lights were also moving but not the actual train. I personally thought that since like a lot of the time we're in the train station and like you're in the tunnel for the train and you see a light, usually the light is going with the train. So I thought that the train was actually moving, while another person thought that it wasn't moving at all.
Okay. Okay. So all right. So if there was any mind changing, it went on with the, okay, I totally hear you. And I hope, and by the way, other people can hear Chloe, right? Like you guys can hear Chloe. Yeah. Okay, cool. Oh, Amanda, that totally counts as class participation. That totally counts. No, it's the other thing. Okay. No, that's good. Okay, cool, Chloe. And I'm going to and again, we have time. I mean, even if we don't, I always say this, I want to, last thing, Chloe, this is very helpful to me. It's actually shockingly helpful to me. So it sounds like so far, just summarizing, so far what Chloe's saying is there were very different there were very different answers on whether the train was moving or not. There were also different answers on what the lights meant. There's an implication in what Chloe's saying, or maybe Chloe said it directly, that like if anybody sort of changed their mind during the train of thought analysis, it was around the issue of the lights that they might have changed their mind, but there was definitely disagreement around the lights. And then, so final question, did you guys come to any consensus ultimately at the end of the day, Chloe, in your room? If you had to speak for your room, would you say basically people did they come to saying the question can be answered or the question can't be answered?
It was split again. So some people thought the question couldn't be answered, and then some of us thought that it could have been answered. So we thought that it was moving.
Okay. No, that's very, very definitive. And I'm going to ask, this is very helpful. I'm going to ask Chloe one last question, and I'm totally, please, somebody later on, not right now, but later on, it could be this weekend, send me a text or something that just reminds me, make a portal for this, like that I should make a participation points portal for this discussion alone. I don't know why I didn't do it, but I should, because this is really, I mean, I think Chloe's not going to end up being the only one, but I think what she's doing is she's really putting herself out here right now. And it's definitely really helping me. I think it's helping everyone. So it seems like I'm torturing her, but that's not my goal. So my last question that I should have put in the chat, now that I'm listening to Chloe, I'm realizing, last question, in your opinion, Chloe, in any way, shape or form, do you think anybody in your room, including you, do you think anybody's opinion in the room was in any way like changed or influenced or developed like by after having discussed it in your room? Like, do you think anybody came out of your room with a slightly different perspective from the one that they walked in? I mean, honestly.
Yeah, I think so. Cause I had given an example about like, I don't know if you've ever been to a carnival, but there's like these like UFO ride things, and basically those like they're moving, but you are physically in there and you can't really feel it move. So it kind of reminded me of like the train.
Oh yes, I do know. At first, I didn't know what. Yes. Very good example. Okay, very cool. Okay, I hope everybody heard. Again, we're just trying to collect. I mean, if nothing else, my goal here right now, I mean, we can't have like a full-on smackdown like debate between people here, but if nothing else, my goal is to like hear, if for all of us to hear like the wide variety of responses that we could possibly come up with on something. Let me remind everybody, this seems like a really simple question. I'm not saying easy, but I'm saying it's, of all the complicated things that sometimes I like babble forever to say, like this one is just like, is the train moving, right? Like it comes down to a simple, is the train moving, yes or no? And already just from Chloe's representation, it seems to me that we get quite a tapestry of different ways of looking at that question and quite a tapestry of different deep ways to think about it. And deep is good. I'm going to call the next person out, but I'm going to say now too, now that you've seen sort of what I asked Chloe and what she talked about, take it upon yourself, whoever the next person is, you can just give a report that kind of covers everything I just asked. Like basically what I want to hear about your particular room is like, what did they initially believe? Did they ever change their mind? Did they ever change their mind when they were doing the sheet? Like why or why not? What do they end up believing? And do you think like anybody in particular in the room actually ended up changing their mind about anything for having been in the room? Like that's the basic summary of it, but you can just talk, whoever I call on next, like, that's the structure, loose structure, but just what Chloe just did is perfect. She just report. I feel like I was in that room now. That's what I want to know. Oh, and last, and I think, oh yeah, she told me the 3 people. Okay. And you could tell me the people in your room, just like Chloe did too. Okay. Who am I calling on? Do you want to put up an electronic hand forever? Who's going or who wants, could someone go next after Chloe? She set a high bar. Oh, everybody's like, no, I'm done. Get me coffee. Wait, oh, wait. Oh, okay. I'm looking in the chat. I see the chat. Oh, sorry. What was it? Oh, sorry. I'm seeing Nicholas. Thank you. That's cool. Oh, David. Oh, so, okay. So David's in, I mean, oh my God. Oh, okay, David, got you. You're in the lab, you can't unmute. Totally fair. I see. All right, so David put this wild thing about Schrodinger's cat in the chat. And let me say that, and I'm assuming everybody can, well, he wrote, I don't know if anyone else thought of it this way, but I said that the train was both moving and not moving because it reminded me of Schrodinger's cat. Since you're in the train, you can't possibly tell whether you're moving or not. You don't sense anything, but hypothetically speaking, you could be moving. I'm in the library, so I can't unmute. All right, first of all, thank you for explaining why you couldn't unmute. That's very cool. That's very deep. That is a perfect example of what Chloe's like. His group is going deep there, or he's going deep, and that's totally fine. Now, Schrodinger's cat is an interesting physics reference. It's a fabulous physics reference. Like, I do get what he's saying. Again, you guys know me well enough to know at this point, I think I have to be very careful, because if I now take a minute to try to explain what he means by Schrodinger's cat to everybody, if I'm not careful, it'll be the end of the class. So I'm going to resist that temptation, but it's all about a branch of physics called quantum mechanics, which I love, which is very hard, which is not directly part of this class. But certainly one implication, and you're welcome to look it up on the web, or maybe you all know about it from chem and from stuff like that, which would be cool. But one thing that I think he's getting at with the Schrodinger's cat reference, and also, I'm sorry, Nicholas. Okay, also Nicholas said, yes, talking it out helped us come up with new ideas about the scenario. That's awesome. And I don't know if Nicholas can unmute, but if he wants to report on his group, that'd be awesome. Okay.
Yeah, so
Sorry. You've heard of it. Okay, sorry. No, Nicholas, you go. Sorry.
when I was looking at it and like reading the question, I was basically thinking that at certain points the train was moving, and at certain points the train wasn't, based on how like the scenario was being described, of like the lights moving, and like how you weren't, at certain points you weren't able to detect any like movement or any changes.
Cool. Okay. So then you feel like, so that's how you felt about it when you were reading it yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. But then were you in the same room as David, or no, that's just a coincidence?
Oh no, I don't think so.
Okay.
But I agree with what he's saying though.
Okay. All right, cool. And so did your room, in your room, Nicholas, did you feel that by the end people came to a sort of consensus? Like, did most people think one way or the other, or was it totally across the board?
I think we all came to like an agreement later on. Like,
oh, okay. An agreement that the train was moving, or that it couldn't be. What was the agreement?
like we're also kind of saying how, like, based on how the scenario was going on, we kind of thought that maybe it was more of like a hypothetical scenario than like a realistic one, based on how it was being described. So like,
that makes sense. Yeah, and it is, and that's true. And also for people, I forgot about Gen Chem. Okay, yeah, and Schrodinger's cat is also hypothetical, but it's meant to show something. It's certainly hypothetical, and this is certainly at a base level. This is certainly hypothetical in that the train is so slick and optimized. I mean, although I gather that super smooth trains exist in like Washington, D.C. or Tokyo or something, but this train is clearly not a realistic New York City train. But cool. Okay, so we've gotten from Nicholas, we've gotten from Chloe. Those were 2 different rooms. Oh, and David, it sounds like that was 3 different rooms, I think. This is cool. Someone else or anyone else? Is Amanda contemplating it? Is she sort of tempted? Is that a sort of?
I can, if you can like hear me through here. I could talk about what we did.
That'd be great. Yes, we can. Awesome.
So for the first part,
two people had said that the train wasn't moving because there was nothing really to base it off of, while one person had said it was, and one person said that there wasn't enough information. However, we were all able to see how and why we chose each other's answers. So like we kind of were able to make sense of how we each had different responses. So I guess our answers did kind of change once we had talked about it. And then some of us agreed that it was more of like a fictional sense, but it was also like a hypothetical that was actually supposed to represent a real life scenario of an example of something.
So it was hypothetical, but you could have you're saying, if I understand correctly, oh wait, let me back up, let me summarize. So if I understand correctly, you're saying that at least by the end, your group sort of concluded that it was hypothetical, but it could like map to something that could actually happen in real life.
Yeah.
Cool. And if I understood correctly too, you also, I mean, like Chloe, like David, like Nicholas, I think, are saying that whatever people brought to the room got a little bit evolved or affected or transformed along the way by being in the room. Like, not, is that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And in the end, would you be able to come up with a consensus for your, I mean, if your room like had to commit one as a room to one way or the other of like whether it really was moving or not, would your room be able to come to that commitment by the end, or it was still like varied?
We all agreed once the lights came into the conversation that the train was moving in some sort of way. So we all did agree on that sense. So my personal answer for that one was there wasn't enough information, or it was particular towards the specific scenario that was being discussed.
Wait, okay. That's really, and again, I will get somebody else in a minute, but that's super interesting. So hold, just a flag for everybody. We have here another case where someone's saying, or where someone's room is saying, if anything happened, like if there was a pivot point to like our thoughts about this train, at least one pivot point seemed to be the lights, and that the lights did sort of start making things more definitive, at least for some people. And then, which I'm just noting for everybody, but then Amanda, wait, you're saying that at least for you personally, once the lights came in, then that made something more definitive. It made something more definitive, but it's still, your answer would still depend on the particularities of that light situation. Is that what you're saying? Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like, I don't know if the lights were specifically like attached to something else that was also moving, or if they were just like stationary themselves, or like that was kind of how I thought about it.
Okay. So that the lights trigger enough new information, like the light, so you're saying once there's lights, then you start seeing how like, okay, based on what these lights mean, then I could come to an answer. Now that I see the lights, I could come to an answer. But in fact, what the lights are making me realize is I still need more about the lights to come to that answer. Okay. Very interesting. Very interesting, actually. This is all great. This is more than I could. And of course, again, no matter what, this is gonna, I'm gonna have a really hard time cutting this off. And let me just remind everybody. Wait, do I want to remind everybody? Yeah, let me just soft, gentle reminder, since some of you might find the pacing of this class I don't know, unusual or something. Just a quick sidebar reminder. We're not having a test yet. It's not test time yet. You don't have to worry about tests. But when we finally have an exam or a final exam, I just want to remind you that what you're going to get examined on is what we do in the class, not what anybody was expecting us to do in the class, or not what some book somewhere that nobody was asked to buy says that we should do in the class. Like, just so you know, like, in other words, don't ever worry about where are we in the curriculum. Don't worry about, wait, are we going to get tested on things that we didn't get to? The answer is no. You're going to get tested on what we do. for good or for bad, just so in other words, you can enjoy this discussion and not think it's getting in the way of something else in your grades. Now I'm going to look, because I really like what's happening here. I think we are learning something. And I just saw that things are happening in the chat. So I'm going to move on to another person in the chat. Oh, a lot is happening. Oh my God. A lot is happening in the chat. You guys are such chatters. Okay. So I'm going to look at the chat and then we may wrap it up. Okay. Oh, but definitely I'll say this. I guess that's why I just said about the exams. Like so far, I really like what I heard from Amanda, what I heard from Nicholas, what I read from David, what I heard from Chloe. It's also helping me to get to know you better, blah, blah, blah. Like it goes a very far way, this participation, I mean, in my mind. So I also want to say, the last thing I want to do, anybody who wants to say something about this absolutely should and will, whether you speak or you put in the chat. So like, I may stop looking for more people because now we've got a ton. But if you want to say anything at all, either put up your hand or put in the chat. We're definitely not going to like shut this down with someone who had a desire and it got squelched. Okay, so I'm looking in the chat now. But I may stop looking for, you get my point. Okay, so I'm looking in the chat. So David, okay, yeah, Elda. Oh, she's heard of, right. I'm glad you've heard of Schrodinger's cat. And one day we'll talk about it. I mean, it comes up a little bit more in Physics 204, but learning in Gen Chem, cool. Oh, okay. So Samuel says this is like being in a zero gravity airplane. Very interesting. I will address that. I mean, I'm going to take that. That's certainly an interesting thing to say, and also not a wrong thing to say. I mean, it's a right thing to say. And I'm going to take that as an example, like going back to kind of to Caroline's thing, kind of to Nicholas's thing, that Samuel is saying, oh yeah, this might be hypothetical, but there's other hypotheticals that I know like this, and they relate to things in the world. Like a zero gravity airplane, I don't even know what you guys think about that. I mean, a space, I don't know if there's, that is realistic. That is just so you, or if you don't like the word, if you're uncomfortable with his phrase, zero gravity airplane, like an airplane with zero gravity in it, you could substitute for that space shuttle, any space shuttle, not shuttle, satellite, any space satellite that anybody's ever been in, not us, but I mean, any human beings have ever been in, would totally have the experience that I think Samuel is alluding to, and that possibly we're alluding to in this scenario. So yes, I agree. There are real life scenarios that this might be corresponding to. That's cool. Okay, and then Felicia, my answer to 1B was yes and no. Okay, I'll read out loud. My answer to 1B was yes and no, because I thought that the train wasn't moving at the moment. But I said yes, that I was, I see. I'm sorry. All right. My answer to 1B was yes and no, because I thought that the train wasn't moving at the moment. But I said yes, that I was moving because I'm in the process of moving from one place to another, if that makes sense. Oh, yes, I understand what she's saying. I mean, partly this goes back now to Chloe. Like, it might sound like Felicia might think she's overthinking it or deep thinking it. But no, what she's doing is like addressing the many subtle layers of the question itself. Like if some of this is confusing, it's not because you guys are confusing. It's because there's something confusing inherently in the question. And I just want to remind you again, like the question, there is a lot of layers to this question. Like, what exactly do we mean by moving? What do we mean by I? But they're all packed in there into this seemingly simple scenario. It's not really, because a lot of tricks are being pulled to make those complexities arise. So yeah, no, Felicia's saying yes and no, because she's basically saying, if you look at it as me, it's one answer, but if you look at it the train, it's another answer. Fair enough. That's good. All right, I'm going to the next. Caroline, I said both yes and no, as I thought that the train was moving, but you weren't. Oh, okay, wait, sorry. I thought both yes and no, as I thought that the train was moving, but you weren't moving while inside the train, as it was moving. I didn't read that right, but that's very similar, but I get it, I think. It's very similar to the Felicia thing. And in fact, to keep pushing this forward, okay, one thread from people that I'm hearing so far. Okay, there's a couple of threads. One is that we're getting a lot of different answers a lot across the board. And that some of that we don't, it sort of depends on how you take the question, and that there seems to be missing information, but even when you throw in new information, such as the lights, that just seems to call for a need for even more information. Like something's missing here in a way to be able to answer it concretely. But it does seem like no matter what we throw in, if we throw in more information, we're just needing even more. And if what's missing in the words, if what's missing is like, in the words, it seems like we just start piling on more and more words and getting ourselves even more confused. That's theme number one. Theme number two, what seems like people are saying, like particularly Caroline and Felicia and so forth, is that there's some kind of, sorry. Theme number two, like from Nicholas and David and others, Nicholas, David, and Samuel, is that, you know, this scenario might be made up. But and Chloe, this scenario is made up, but it seems to remind us of scenarios that have been experienced, at least maybe on TV, maybe in textbooks, maybe in extreme cases like zero gravity airplanes, or maybe in realistic common things like amusement parks. Like this does seem to remind us of things that can happen in the real world. So maybe it's not totally irrelevant to life. And then theme number three, I want to highlight now, and I do see that we're starting to run out of time. Okay, this does always have, what day is today? Wednesday. Oh my God. Okay. Theme number three that's coming out from Felicia and from Caroline is perspective somehow seems to very much matter here. Like in order to answer the question, we sort of really need to know, wait, from what perspective are we asking the question? Like, when you say me, do you mean me, like like how I'm looking at it, like my body, or do you mean like from the perspective of the chair or the walls of the train or someone standing outside the train? Like really, from what perspective are you asking this question? Because I think my answer might differ. I feel like that is a big theme that's coming out here. In fact, it is a very important theme. Okay, I'm going to keep, but now I do see the clock, so I'm going to keep going. Okay, I'm up to, that was Felicia, that was Caroline, and now Christina. Okay. I feel like, this is Christina, I feel like this homework was based on our own perceptions. Okay, so perception and experiences, because one person in my group spoke about bullet trains in Japan, and I honestly did not even think about that. Oh, okay, right. And so i.e. that there are trains in life that can be so smooth like this that they can fool you or confuse you. I was more thinking about New York City subway trains, fair enough. And I did not consider that there being other trains that the homework was talking about. Oh no, and you're right. And don't make it like Christine or anybody else, however you interpreted this homework. I mean, look, there is something we're supposed to get out of this. Believe me, believe it or not, this is not just an exercise in, oh, like, how do we feel today? There is actually a big scientific takeaway from this. But yes, whatever perspective you brought to it is the valid perspective that you brought to it. It was just a hypothetical train that was supposed to represent any experiences that you might have had in life. Look, I'll cut to the chase too, or I'll cut to a chase. In fact, I better, because it's 1:24. One thing is, I don't care if you've been in a space shuttle or Japan or not. Like, honestly, if you've ever, all of you, if you've ever been in the elevators at John Jay, the elevators, if you really think about it, when you're in those elevators, I'll submit to you right now, your experience in those elevators absolutely either is or can be as confusing as this train thing. Like, actually, yes, because we're starting to run out of time. This doesn't argue with anybody, but I'm going to start getting to some answers here. This is a hypothetical, but it absolutely represents something that's absolutely in reality that's really important. I will submit to you, and if we didn't, and I will get to the rest of the people that are in the chat, I will, maybe fast, but I'll tell you right now, I believe everybody in this room, in this Zoom room, has at least at one moment in their life had an experience either in an elevator like a Tronjay or an airplane, even a regular everyday airplane, once it's taken off. Motion can absolutely be so smooth that for one moment you can be confused as to whether you're moving past something else or it is moving past you. If you've ever been on a highway and you fall asleep in a car, you can wake up and think, oh my God, that big truck Like, or you can wake up and think, oh my God, like our foot slipped off the brakes and we're slipping backwards. And then you realize, no, the truck in the right lane is slipping forwards or something like that. But definitely in an airplane, like elevators, they go so fast that there's probably not usually time to like fall asleep and like literally be confused. But if you close your eyes in an elevator while it's between floors, I mean, you know, once it's cruising, it's absolutely, I would submit, absolutely impossible to tell whether you're going past the fourth floor or the fourth floor is passing you. You might think you know intellectually, like which one makes more sense, but I don't think you feel it. Okay, but I know we're running out of, and I want to write something down. All right, wait, I'm gonna, hold on. I do have to, okay, sorry, of course this is taking more time than I thought. I'm gonna read these last couple. There is a takeaway to this, believe me, and it was written on the board. And I want to write it again, but I might have to just submit it in Google Classroom. We will get back to this, believe me, on Monday. But all right, I read Christina's things. Felicia, I agree, Amanda. I was thinking, oh, that counts as closing a conversational path and multiplayer co-op. By the way, I agree, Amanda. I was thinking if the train was moving, the lights weren't, but maybe the lights were moving and the train wasn't. Right? Not enough info. Right? Absolutely. That can, and even as crazy as New York City trains are, I believe there are moments when that happens to all of us where we're confused. Are we going past the lights or the lights going past us? I agree with you, Christina. Oh, multiplayer co-op. Woohoo! And even if she disagreed, I was thinking about more New York subway trains as well, and not other types of trains around the world, and didn't think about what other trains the homework could have been referencing to. Fair enough. And I'm going to read this fast. We have 3 minutes. I agree with Christina because depending on the person's experience, it would influence on how they would answer the question, understand the situation. Okay, this is great. You guys couldn't, especially for Zoom. Well, anyway, I know there might have been other people that wanted to say something. I apologize if they didn't. All the feedback you're giving me, or not the feedback, the input you're giving each other is super helpful. Super. I've got two. All right, I'm going to, how can I do this fast? I'm afraid there's something I have to write down and give you, believe me, there's actually laws that come out of this. There's a principle written in 3 forms that actually comes out of it. Maybe I'll submit it in Google Classroom. But this doesn't just end in, oh, it's all chaos. Oh, it's all whatever we feel. What I want to tell you is this train scenario, okay, this train scenario represents many things that really happen in real life, but one in particular, what the train actually represents, just to cut to the chase at 1:28, what the train actually represents is planet Earth, okay? The confusion that the fact that you all are having legitimate, across the board, changing views, different views on how to have views, different views on what the question means, different views on what information you have or don't have. Absolutely, that is an analogy to not only the confusion that could happen in a moment in an elevator, legitimately, or on a highway, or in an airplane, but what legitimately this is the hundreds and thousands of years that people spent standing on planet Earth, looking up to the sky, seeing things going past them in the sky, looking down on the surface of the earth, feeling nothing moving at all, then eventually seeing white lights in the sky, tracking the motion of white lights, i.e. stars, going past them all the time in the sky, and continually having the very convincing experience that a sky was moving past them while they felt stable on the ground, but continually returning and really looking at the white lights in the sky and looking for more information in the white lights in the sky, specifically looking for certain lights that didn't move the same way as all the other lights that we call planets, and trying to come to a conclusion of, wait a second, are we moving or not? Like, we don't feel like we are, but something's moving past us, and it seems kind of unlikely that all that stuff that's moving past us could be so coincidentally moving all in a formation all the time, something that almost looks like a perfect formation, but isn't a perfect formation because there's 7 things called planets that are moving through it. For hundreds and hundreds of years, people clinically not stupidly, really thoughtfully, really were forced to think, what could motion mean if we can't even tell whether we are moving or not, right? Legitimately. And it's 1:30, so I'm just going to say this. I'm not going to write down a takeaway, but the big takeaway is Galileo in the 17th century, who did not conclude we are moving around the sun and the sun is still. It's not that simple at all. What he concluded was the laws of physics are the same at all constant velocities, at all constant speeds and directions. He realized, wait a minute, sometimes I'm in a boat that is moving past the water, but I feel like the water is moving past me. And sometimes the other way around. And he concluded, you know what? No matter what, you can always feel like you're at rest as long as you're moving at a constant velocity. The laws of physics are all the same. I mean, I'm summarizing this very quickly, but what he concluded was that velocity is a relation between two objects. It is not a property of one object. Velocity is a matter of perspective, as you guys seem to be saying and implying in this whole discussion, that if velocity seems confusing, if it seems like it matters who's doing the looking and who's doing the looked, it does. We'll leave it. It's called relativity. I'm going to leave it at that for now, but I just want you to say the train is an analogy to Earth. And the conclusion that we take away from it is that velocity is a relation between two objects, not a property of one object. And that's a fulcrum of physics. And if you're confused at all, we'll keep going over Monday. Don't worry about it, but that's the but I think what you guys did with this was great. Thank you guys very much. We'll keep going on Monday. Have a great week. Thank you.
Have a good
Thank
week.
you.
Thank you. Have a great
Have a nice day, Professor.
Have a nice, thank you. You too.